So hello everyone. The Heavenly Father wanted me to bring this information to you. It's very vital and we see a lot of it in the world today. But why is it that a person can't leave a relationship no matter how bad it has become? It could be dangerous, it could be toxic, it can have all the red flags, but why is it that we can't leave? Despite what you might be believing, it's not love. See, we confusing love with soul ties, and we'll explain. The first thing we must remember as living souls is we were created by our Heavenly Father. With Him creating us and putting us here on earth, it came with a set of rules, both naturally and physically, that our spirits and our souls will fulfill, whether consciously, subconsciously, whether we want it to or not, is going to adhere to that. It's punishment and reward that comes with those laws. And in this case, we're going to talk about the punishments. When a man and a woman sleeps together, what's developed is called a soul tie. Now, soul ties come from the commandment that God gave man in the beginning when he created Eve and delivered Eve to Adam. He said, from now on, a man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one. So you are tied together into one person. The two become one. That's your soul tie. Anytime you sleep with a person, you are naturally and physically tied to them. That's despite what your mind or your feelings might say. The second rule that commands you to stay when you want to leave is the law that where God says, if a man sleeps with a woman that he is not married to, she shall become his wife, even if it wasn't consensual. These are the laws in which God put in place to eliminate the contamination that comes from sleeping with multiple partners, because then you have multiple souls being tied together, which becomes a big melting pot for evil. And then we produce children out of that, which are also evil. And we wonder why our children do such bad things in the earth today. But that's for another story. The third thing is you don't understand what love is. So what is love? Love is the highest ranking emotional approval that you can give a person, place, or a thing. The highest respect. That's your care for it, your desire to have it, and the necessity you give it for your life. And with those definitions, we understand that once we're in a relationship and we decide it's time to leave, there's no way possible that you can still have love for it. But we describe it as love because we don't really understand the rules and laws that guide our life that we live under, whether we accept them or not. God has put them in place. So we think that it's love, but it's not. It's a soul tie, which is natural and physical. But because we don't understand it and never been explained to us, we're easy to say, well, I love them. That's why I'm not leaving, no matter how bad it is. That's not true. It's just that you're void of understanding. I encourage you to go to YouTube on the Holy Truth About Sin and look at the video entitled We Became Living Souls. And also go back and look at why they haven't asked to marry you. Also go look at why tens keep picking zeros. All these things. This is a dangerous season for women. And these are the things that God has been coming to us to give unto you. Now, another thing that's holding you together is because God has put these laws in place for us to be governed by in our lives. When we break these laws, it's called sin. Now, God has said that the wages of sin is death. So if you enter into a relationship, if you have sexual intercourse with them before marriage, regardless of whether you marry them later or not, it's not going to be successful because you have joined together under sin. So it will have to be forgiven in order for it to prosper if you marry later. If you do not marry later, then the law states that the wages of sin are death. So you can't leave because spiritually that thing is supposed to destroy you and your life. You're supposed to die. What did Satan tell Eve? You shall not surely die. Why did he say that? Because you won't die as in fall over dead, but your life will feel like death. Everything that's supposed to prosper in your life will not. but rather things will fall apart and it only gets worse from there. So these are the reasons in which you can't leave that relationship. So again, for the recap, the first one is because you're tied together spiritually and naturally through the commandments of God when he said a man must leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two become one. The second one is whether it's consensual or not, if you are not married and you have sex, then the law requires you to get married or else face the consequences. What are the consequences? Death, unprosperous, depressing, demoting, discouraging. These are the rewards of doing things the wrong way, entering into a sexual relationship before marriage. And the other thing is, you don't understand what love is. You're confusing these laws and because you can't help yourself. Now, one thing you got to understand about natural and spiritual laws, you can't override them. You don't have options when it comes to punishment. You have options when it comes to being obedient or disobedient, meaning this, you can't choose to leave even though you know you should because the punishment is non-optional. But you did have the option of choosing not to sin and follow the laws of God. So these are the reasons in which a person can't leave a relationship, although they know they should. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you.